The communication chamber of the Zephyrian Imperial Palace buzzed with activity. Technicians worked at their stations while holographic displays showed the vast reach of the Empire across the galaxy. Emperor Vakthul sat on his crystalline throne, reviewing reports from the outer territories when his chief communications officer approached. "Your Imperial Majesty," the officer said, bowing low. "We have received an unusual transmission from the Galactic Rim." Emperor Vakthul raised one of his forearms in dismissal. "Another plea for mercy from some primitive world, no doubt. File it with the others. No, Your Majesty. This message is different. It appears to be a warning." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. In 3,000 years of imperial expansion, no species had ever dared to warn the Zephyrian Empire of anything. He gestured for the officer to continue. "The transmission comes from a small star system on the outer edge of Sector 7. Intelligence reports show only one inhabited world. They call themselves Terrans." "Terrans?" The Emperor laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "I have never heard of this species." "Play the message." The officer activated the holographic display. Static cleared and a simple audio message played in clear galactic standard language. "This is Terran Command. Our borders are clearly marked by the outer edge of our star system. Cross them uninvited and you will face complete destruction. We have no interest in expansion or conquest, but we will defend our territory with absolute force. This is your only warning." Silence filled the chamber. The Emperor stared at the display, then began laughing again, louder this time. His court joined in nervously. "Did these Terrans just threaten the Zephyrian Empire?" he asked. "It appears so, Your Majesty," the communications officer replied. Emperor Vakthul stood from his throne, his massive frame casting shadows across the chamber. "Summon Admiral Crix immediately, and bring me everything we know about this Terran system." Within an hour, Admiral Crix stood before the Emperor. The veteran military commander had conquered 47 worlds for the Empire and had never failed in a mission. His scarred face showed confusion as he reviewed the intelligence reports. "Your Majesty," Admiral Crix said, "our long-range scans show this system contains only 4 rocky planets and 3 gas giants. The inhabited world appears to have a population of roughly 8 billion. Their technology seems primitive. We detect no faster-than-light travel signatures, no energy shields, no weapons platforms. Yet they dare to threaten us." The Emperor mused. "Tell me about their military capabilities." Admiral Crix consulted his datapad. "Minimal, Your Majesty. We detect some basic satellite networks and what appear to be chemical fuel rockets. Their largest structures are barely visible from our scanning range. By all measurements, they should be an easy conquest." The Emperor walked to the great window that showed the Imperial fleet stationed around the capital world. Thousands of warships floated in perfect formation, their weapons capable of reducing entire planets to ash. "Perhaps," the Emperor said slowly, "these Terrans do not understand who they are dealing with. Admiral Crix, I want you to take the 47th Subjugation Fleet to this system. Show these humans the price of threatening the Empire." Admiral Crix bowed. "How many ships, Your Majesty?" 200 should be sufficient. Do not destroy their world immediately. I want them to see the power of the Empire first. Give them a chance to surrender. If they refuse," the Emperor shrugged. "Standard subjugation protocols." "Understood, Your Majesty. When do we depart?" "Immediately. I want this matter resolved quickly. The other species in the galaxy must understand that even the smallest threat to Imperial authority will be crushed." Admiral Crix saluted and left the chamber. Within 6 hours, the 47th Fleet had assembled. 200 warships of various classes prepared for departure. The fleet included heavy cruisers, fast attack vessels, troop transports, and the flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Iron Fist. As the fleet prepared to enter hyperspace, Admiral Crix reviewed the mission parameters with his senior officers in the flagship's war room. "The target is a single-system species calling themselves Terrans or humans," he explained to the assembled captains. "They have issued a threat against the Empire, which must be answered. Our orders are to arrive, demand surrender, and if refused, proceed with standard subjugation." Captain Vex, commander of the heavy cruiser Bonecrusher, raised a question. "Admiral, what if their threat was not mere bluffing? What if they possess hidden weapons?" Admiral Crix smiled grimly. "Captain, I have conquered worlds with populations 50 times larger than this human planet. I have faced energy beings that could manipulate matter with their thoughts. and machine intelligences that spanned entire star systems. 200 Imperial warships can handle whatever surprises these humans might have. The other officers nodded in agreement. The Imperial fleet had never been defeated. Their weapons could crack planets. Their shields could deflect stellar-level energy, and their technology had been refined through thousands of years of conquest. "How long until we reach their system?" asked Captain Zara of the attack vessel Swift Death. 3 days at maximum hyperspace velocity," Admiral Crix replied. "We will drop out of hyperspace at the edge of their system and proceed inward. I want them to see us coming. Fear is often more effective than firepower." The fleet entered hyperspace, their engines creating a tunnel through the fabric of space itself. As they traveled, intelligence officers continued analyzing data about the human system. "Admiral," reported Intelligence Officer Moore, "we have received updated scans. The humans have built some kind of installations on their outer planets, but they appear to be scientific research stations, nothing that poses a military threat." Admiral Crick studied the reports. The humans had indeed built structures on several worlds in their system, but the energy signatures suggested laboratories and communication arrays rather than weapons platforms. "They are probably trying to detect our approach," he decided. "Good. I want them to know we are coming. The fear will make them more likely to surrender without resistance." On the third day, the fleet prepared to drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the human solar system. Admiral Crick stood on the bridge of the Iron Fist watching the countdown timer. "All ships report ready," his communications officer announced. "Excellent. Drop us out of hyperspace at maximum scanning range. I want to see what these humans have prepared for us." The fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Immediately, their sensors began scanning the system ahead. Admiral Crix expected to see a primitive civilization desperately preparing defenses against the Imperial fleet. Instead, the first thing he noticed was silence. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "I am detecting unusual energy readings from throughout the system." "What kind of readings?" "Unknown, sir. The energy signatures do not match any known technology in our databases." Admiral Crix frowned. "Could they be trying to jam our sensors?" "Negative, sir. Our sensors are functioning normally. These signatures appear to be genuine." Before Admiral Crix could respond, his communications officer interrupted. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the system." "From the humans?" "Yes, sir. They appear to have detected our arrival." Admiral Crix straightened his uniform. "Put it through." The message was brief and delivered in the same calm voice they had heard in the original warning. "Imperial Fleet, you have entered Terran space. You are currently at the edge of our territorial boundary. You have 30 standard minutes to withdraw beyond our system's outer marker, or we will consider this an act of war against humanity." The bridge fell silent. Admiral Crick stared at the communication display, then began laughing. "These humans," he said to his officers, "are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid." Admiral Crix ordered his fleet to advance slowly into the human solar system. He wanted to study these Terrans before taking action. The 200 Imperial warships moved in perfect formation. Their weapons powered but not yet armed. "Sensor report," Admiral Crix commanded from the bridge of the Iron Fist. "Sir," his sensor officer replied, studying the displays, "I am reading massive energy signatures throughout the system. The humans have built structures that our computers cannot properly analyze." "What do you mean they cannot analyze them?" "The energy readings suggest constructions that are far larger than what our visual scans show. It is as if the humans have found ways to hide the true size of their installations." Admiral Crix moved to the sensor station and looked at the readouts himself. The numbers made no sense. Visual scans showed research stations and small outposts on the outer planets, but energy readings suggested structures the size of small moons. "Are our sensors malfunctioning?" he asked. "All systems check normal, sir. I have run complete diagnostics twice." Captain Vex approached from his position at the weapons console. "Admiral, perhaps the humans are using some kind of illusion technology to make their defenses appear smaller than they actually are." "Possible," Admiral Crix agreed. "But illusions will not stop Imperial plasma cannons. Continue the advance, but keep all ships at combat readiness." As the fleet moved deeper into the system, more strange readings appeared on their sensors. The humans had apparently built installations around every planet and moon, connected by energy fields that Imperial science could not identify. "Sir," the communications officer called out, We are receiving another transmission from the humans. Put it through. The same calm voice spoke again. Imperial Fleet. You are now 15 minutes from our territorial boundary. We strongly advise you to reconsider your current course of action. Admiral Crix activated the response channel. This is Admiral Crix of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy. You will surrender immediately or face the consequences of threatening the Empire. There was a pause before the human voice responded. Admiral, we have no desire for conflict, but we will defend our territory. You still have 15 minutes to withdraw. These humans refuse to acknowledge Imperial authority, Admiral Crix announced to his crew. All ships continue advance. Arm weapon systems. The fleet pressed forward. As they crossed what the humans had called their territorial boundary, something extraordinary happened. Admiral, the sensor officer shouted, multiple contacts appearing throughout the system. On the display screens, new objects materialized out of seemingly empty space. Hundreds of structures that had been invisible suddenly became visible to Imperial sensors. They were enormous, each one easily the size of an Imperial dreadnought. Where did they come from? Admiral Crix demanded. Unknown, sir. They appeared to have been there all along, but somehow hidden from our sensors. The structures were unlike anything in Imperial databases. They seemed to be made of materials that shifted and changed, as if they existed partially outside normal space. Strange energy patterns flowed across their surfaces. What are we looking at? Captain Vex asked. Before anyone could answer, the human voice returned. Imperial Fleet, you have crossed our territorial boundary. You now have 30 minutes to withdraw beyond the heliopause, or we will consider this an act of war. Admiral Crix studied the tactical display. His 200 ships were now surrounded by nearly 1,000 of these mysterious human structures. Despite their size, the structures showed no obvious weapons or offensive capabilities. Analysis of the new contacts, he ordered. Sir, our computers cannot identify the materials or energy sources. The structures do not match any known ship design or defensive platform. They appear to be completely alien to our understanding of technology. Are they warships? Unknown, sir. They emit no weapon signatures that we can recognize, but the energy levels suggest power sources far beyond anything in our databases. Admiral Crix felt a moment of uncertainty. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered anything that Imperial science could not identify or understand. But his orders were clear, and 200 Imperial warships had never been defeated. Open a channel to the humans, he commanded. Channel open, sir. This is Admiral Crix. I am bound by Imperial law to offer you one opportunity to surrender. Submit to Imperial authority, and your people will be incorporated into the Empire as a subject species. Refuse, and we will take your system by force. The response came immediately. Admiral Crix, humanity appreciates your offer, but we must decline. We suggest you use your remaining 28 minutes to contact your Emperor and inform him of the situation. The situation? Admiral Crix laughed. The situation is that your primitive species is about to be conquered by the greatest military force in galactic history. Admiral, the human voice continued, still calm, we have studied your empire for many years. We know your capabilities, your weapons, your tactics. We also know that you have never encountered technology like ours. Please use your remaining time wisely. Admiral Crix cut the communication channel and turned to his senior staff. Opinions? Captain Vex spoke first. Sir, the humans are clearly more advanced than our initial intelligence suggested. However, they have made no aggressive moves. Their structures could be elaborate bluffs. Captain Zara? Admiral Crix asked. The commander of the Swift Death studied the tactical display. Sir, I recommend we test their capabilities with a limited engagement. If they possess superior technology, we will learn it quickly. If they are bluffing, we will call their bluff. Intelligence Officer Moore. Admiral, I must report that nothing we are seeing here matches any known technology in Imperial databases. The humans have either developed completely new scientific principles, or they possess knowledge we do not understand. Admiral Crix considered the options. His fleet had never retreated from an inferior species, and retreat would mean court-martial and execution. But something about this situation felt different from every other conquest he had undertaken. Sir, his communications officer interrupted, we have an emergency transmission from Imperial Command. Put it through. The image of Emperor Vakthul appeared on the main screen. Admiral Crix, report your status. Your Majesty, we have encountered unexpected resistance. The humans possess technology that our scientists cannot identify. I request permission to withdraw and await reinforcements. The Emperor's expression darkened. Admiral, you command 200 Imperial warships against a single primitive world. Are you telling me you cannot complete this mission? Your Majesty, these humans are not primitive. They have built structures throughout their system that appear to violate known laws of physics. I believe we need more information before proceeding. Admiral Crix, the Emperor said coldly, you will complete your mission or face execution for cowardice. Imperial fleets do not retreat from inferior species. The transmission ended. Admiral Crix stared at the blank screen, then at the tactical display showing the mysterious human structures surrounding his fleet. Sir, his communications officer announced. 5 minutes remaining on the human deadline. Admiral Crix made his decision. All ships prepare for combat. Target the nearest human structures. We will show these Terrans the price of threatening the Empire. The Imperial fleet powered their weapons and locked onto targets. 200 of the galaxy's most advanced warships prepared to fire. Sir, the sensor officer reported, the human structures are responding. Energy levels are increasing dramatically. Fire at will, Admiral Crix commanded. The Imperial fleet opened fire with plasma cannons, particle beams, and quantum torpedoes. Streams of destructive energy lanced across space toward the human structures. And then Admiral Crix witnessed something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. The human structures did not dodge, did not raise shields, did not return fire. Instead, they simply absorbed every shot fired at them as if the Imperial weapons were harmless light shows. Direct hits on multiple targets, the weapons officer reported. No damage detected. What do you mean, no damage? Sir, our weapons struck their targets, but the structures appear completely unaffected. It is as if our most powerful weapons had no effect whatsoever. Admiral Crix stared at the display in shock. Imperial weapons could crack planets, but they had not even scratched the human structures. The calm voice returned. Admiral Crix, your 30 minutes have expired. The moment the 30-minute deadline passed, everything changed. Admiral Crix watched his tactical display as one of the mysterious human structures began to glow with an energy pattern unlike anything he had ever seen. The structure, which his sensors still could not properly classify, started generating what appeared to be a small sphere of pure light. Sir, his science officer called out, I am reading massive energy buildup from the human platform. The energy signature is completely unknown. What kind of weapon are they preparing? Admiral Crix demanded. Unknown, sir. Our computers have no reference for this type of energy manipulation. The sphere of light grew brighter and began moving slowly toward the Imperial fleet. It was not moving like a missile or projectile. It seemed to drift through space as if it had all the time in the world. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Admiral Crix ordered. Target that energy sphere with everything we have. 20 Imperial warships focused their fire on the approaching sphere. Plasma beams, particle cannons, and quantum torpedoes struck it directly. The weapons that could destroy asteroids and damage planetary surfaces hit the sphere dead center. Nothing happened. The sphere continued its slow approach, completely unaffected by the Imperial weapons. Sir, Captain Vex reported from his heavy cruiser, our weapons are having no effect on the human projectile. I can see that, Captain. All ships continue evasive maneuvers. But the sphere was not trying to chase the Imperial ships. Instead, it moved with purpose toward a specific target. The escort carrier Dawn of Victory, which carried 10,000 Imperial troops. Captain Thorn, Admiral Crix called to the carrier's commander, get your ship out of there now. Attempting evasive maneuvers, Admiral, Captain Thorn replied. But the object is matching our course changes. It appears to be tracking us. The sphere reached the escort carrier and made contact with the ship's hull. Admiral Crix expected an explosion, a burst of energy, some kind of destructive force. Instead, something impossible happened. The escort carrier simply stopped existing. It did not explode. It did not break apart. It did not burn or collapse. One moment, the Dawn of Victory was there. A massive warship nearly 2 kilometers long carrying 10,000 Imperial soldiers. The next moment, there was only empty space, no debris, no energy signature, no trace that the ship had ever existed at all. The silence on the bridge of the Iron Fist was complete. Every officer stared at the tactical display where the escort carrier had been just seconds before. "Sensor report," Admiral Crix finally managed to say. "Sir," his sensor officer replied in a shaking voice. "There is no trace of the dawn of victory. No wreckage, no energy residue, no electromagnetic signature. It is as if the ship was never there." "That is impossible," Captain Vex said over the communication channel. "Matter cannot simply disappear. Captain Thorne, respond." Admiral Crix called to the missing ship. Silence. Admiral Crix felt something he had never experienced in 40 years of military service. Fear. Not fear of death, which every soldier understood, but fear of something beyond his comprehension. The calm human voice returned. "Admiral Crix, what you have just witnessed was a demonstration using our least destructive weaponry. The Dawn of Victory and its crew have been relocated to a place where they can no longer threaten anyone." "What did you do to them?" Admiral Crix demanded. "Your ship and crew are unharmed but no longer exist in this reality. Consider it a form of exile rather than destruction." "That is scientifically impossible." "Admiral, your science is based on limited understanding of the universe. We have had centuries to develop a more complete picture." Admiral Crix looked around his bridge. His officers stared at him with expressions of shock and confusion. In Imperial military doctrine, there was no protocol for dealing with weapons that made ships stop existing. "You have 1 hour," the human voice continued, "to withdraw your entire fleet beyond the edge of our star system. If any Imperial vessel remains after that deadline, we will demonstrate why we advised your Empire to avoid our territory." Admiral Crix opened a priority channel to Imperial Command. "Your Majesty, I must speak with you immediately." The hologram of Emperor Vakthul appeared on the main screen. "Admiral, report your status." "Your Majesty, the humans have weapons beyond our understanding. They have made one of our ships disappear completely. I recommend immediate withdrawal and negotiation." The Emperor's expression showed anger and disbelief. "Admiral, you are telling me that a primitive species has defeated Imperial technology?" "Your Majesty, these humans are not primitive. They possess scientific knowledge that makes our most advanced weapons useless. The escort carrier Dawn of Victory no longer exists. 10,000 Imperial soldiers have simply vanished. Explain this disappearance." "I cannot explain it, Your Majesty. The human weapon made the ship stop existing. There is no other way to describe what happened." Emperor Vakthul was silent for several moments. "Admiral, you will hold your position and await reinforcements." "I am dispatching the 3rd Imperial Armada under Grand Admiral Thexvar. Do not retreat. Your Majesty, I strongly recommend—" "You recommend nothing, Admiral. You will maintain position and study these human weapons until Grand Admiral Thexvar arrives with sufficient force to complete the conquest." The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Crix alone with his thoughts and his terrified fleet. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving another message from the humans." "Put it through." "Admiral Crix, we detect that you have contacted your Empire for instructions. We understand that military officers must follow orders, even when those orders may lead to tragedy. We do not wish to harm your people, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." Admiral Crix activated the response channel. "Why did you warn us to stay away? What are you afraid we might discover?" "Admiral, we are not afraid of discovery. We warned your Empire because we have studied galactic history. We know what happens when technological superiority meets unlimited ambition. We hope to avoid unnecessary conflict." "What do you mean you have studied galactic history? Your species has never left this system." "Admiral, humans have been monitoring galactic civilizations for over 500 years. We have watched empires rise and fall. We have learned from their mistakes. If you possess such advanced technology, why do you remain hidden in this single system?" "Because we have no interest in ruling others, Admiral. We simply wish to exist in peace. Your Empire, however, appears incapable of allowing any species to exist independently." Admiral Crix considered this. In his 40 years of service, he had conquered species that posed no threat to the Empire, simply because they refused to submit to Imperial authority. "The Grand Admiral is coming with 2,000 ships," he told the humans. "He will not be as patient as I have been." "We are aware of your reinforcements, Admiral. We hope that our demonstration would convince your Empire to reconsider, but we understand that may not be possible." "What will you do when the 3rd Armada arrives?" "What we have always done, Admiral. We will defend our home." Admiral Crix studied the tactical display. His remaining ships were still surrounded by the mysterious human structures. any one of which could apparently make an Imperial warship cease to exist. How long do we have before the Grand Admiral arrives? He asked his navigation officer. 6 days at maximum hyperspace velocity, sir. 6 days to understand weapons that defied every known law of physics. 6 days to find a weakness in defenses that had absorbed Imperial firepower without effect. 6 days to solve a puzzle that might determine the fate of the Empire itself. All ships, Admiral Crix commanded. Maintain defensive positions. Begin detailed sensor analysis of the human structures. I want every scan, every energy reading, every piece of data our instruments can gather. Sir, his science officer asked, what exactly are we looking for? Admiral Crix stared at the display showing the empty space where the dawn of victory had been. Anything that might help us understand what we are really facing, he replied. But deep in his mind, Admiral Crix was beginning to suspect that the Empire had finally encountered something it could not conquer. And that realization terrified him more than any weapon ever could. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Vakthul paced his private chambers like a caged predator. The reports from Admiral Crix made no sense according to everything the Empire knew about warfare and technology. A ship that simply stops existing, he muttered to himself. Impossible. His chief science advisor, Dr. Yexthul, had been analyzing the sensor data transmitted from the fleet for 3 days. The elderly scientist finally requested an audience. Your Majesty, Dr. Yexthul said as he entered the chamber. I have completed my analysis of the incident reports, and the data suggests that Admiral Crix is telling the truth. The escort carrier appears to have been removed from normal space-time without any conventional destruction process. Emperor Vakthul stopped pacing. Are you suggesting these humans possess technology beyond Imperial science? Your Majesty, I am suggesting something far more troubling. The energy signatures detected before the incident match theoretical models for technologies we considered impossible to develop. Explain. Dr. Yex's. Thule activated a holographic display showing complex mathematical equations. Your Majesty, our scientists have long theorized about weapons that could manipulate the fundamental structure of reality itself. However, such weapons would require understanding of universal forces that we have barely begun to study. You believe these humans have developed such weapons? The evidence suggests they have developed something that operates outside our current understanding of physics. A weapon that convinces matter that it never existed would require manipulation of space-time at the quantum level. Emperor Vakthul considered this information. In 3,000 years of expansion, the Empire had encountered species with superior weapons, better shields, faster ships. But they had never faced technology that operated by completely different rules. Could our scientists develop similar weapons? Not in less than several centuries, Your Majesty, and that assumes we could capture and study their technology. The Emperor made his decision. Summon Grand Admiral Thexvar immediately. Within an hour, Grand Admiral Thexvar stood before the Emperor. The massive warrior had personally led the conquest of 400 worlds and earned the title World Breaker for his ruthless efficiency. Your Majesty, Grand Admiral Thexvar said, I have reviewed the reports from the Terran system. With respect, I believe Admiral Crix has been deceived by sophisticated illusions. Dr. Yexthul believes otherwise. Your Majesty, I have seen many species attempt to frighten Imperial forces with displays of false power. These humans have likely developed advanced holographic technology to make their weapons appear more effective than they actually are. Emperor Vakthul studied his most successful military commander. Grand Admiral Thexvar had never failed in a mission, never retreated from an enemy, never shown fear in the face of superior technology. What do you recommend? Give me the 3rd Imperial Armada, 2,000 ships including our most powerful dreadnoughts. I will demonstrate to these humans what real power looks like. And if their weapons are genuine? Grand Admiral Thexvar smiled coldly. Your Majesty, no single system can stand against 2,000 Imperial warships, even if they possess advanced technology. They cannot have enough ships to face the full might of an Imperial Armada. The Emperor considered the options. Retreat would show weakness to every species in the galaxy. If word spread that the Empire had been frightened away by a single system species, rebellions would break out across Imperial space. Very well. Take the 3rd Armada and resolve this situation. I want these humans either conquered or destroyed. It will be my pleasure, Your Majesty. Meanwhile, in the Terran system, Admiral Crix continued his analysis of the human defenses. 6 days of intensive scanning had revealed nothing useful. The human structures continued to defy Imperial understanding. Any progress? He asked his science officer. Sir, we have determined that the human platforms appear to exist partially outside normal space. They draw power from sources we cannot identify and are constructed from materials that do not appear in any Imperial database. Weapons capabilities? Unknown, sir. We have detected no conventional weapon systems, but given what happened to the Dawn of Victory, their weapons may operate by principles we do not understand. Admiral Crick studied the latest reports when his communications officer interrupted. Sir, we are receiving a priority transmission from Grand Admiral Thexvar. Put him through. The hologram of Grand Admiral Thexvar appeared on the main display. Behind him, Admiral Crix could see the bridge of the massive dreadnought Worldbreaker. Admiral Crix, I am arriving with the 3rd Imperial Armada. What is your current tactical assessment? Grand Admiral, the humans possess weapons and defenses beyond our current understanding. I strongly recommend caution in any engagement. Admiral, I am disappointed in your lack of confidence. Prepare your fleet to support the Armada's attack. Sir, I must protest. These humans have demonstrated capabilities that... Admiral Crix. Grand Admiral Thexvar interrupted. You will follow my orders or be relieved of command. Is that understood? Admiral Crix felt the weight of military discipline and Imperial law. Understood, sir. Excellent. We will arrive in 18 hours. The transmission ended. Admiral Crix turned to his senior staff, all of whom had heard the conversation. Sir, Captain Vex asked quietly, should we warn the Grand Admiral about what we have observed? I have tried, Captain. Our duty now is to follow orders and hope that 2,000 ships will be enough. But Admiral Crix was not hopeful. He had studied the human defenses for 6 days and found no weaknesses, no conventional technology, no familiar patterns. Whatever the humans had built in their system operated by rules the Empire did not understand. 18 hours later, the 3rd Imperial Armada emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system. 2,000 warships of every class spread across space in perfect formation. Dreadnoughts capable of destroying planets, battle cruisers armed with quantum weapons, carriers loaded with fighter craft, and destroyers designed for fast attack missions. Grand Admiral Thexvar broadcast his presence to the entire system. This is Grand Admiral Thexvar of the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 1 hour to respond. The human reply came within minutes, delivered in the same calm voice they had used throughout the crisis. Grand Admiral Thexvar, we appreciate your visit, but our position has not changed. We have no interest in conflict, but we will defend our territory. We suggest you withdraw your forces and return to Imperial space. Human, Grand Admiral Thexvar replied. You face the 3rd Imperial Armada, 2,000 ships with enough firepower to reduce your entire system to debris. This is your final opportunity to surrender. Grand Admiral, we understand the size of your fleet and respect the power you bring to our system. However, we must decline your offer. We suggest you contact your Emperor and inform him of the consequences of proceeding with this attack, Grand. Admiral Thexvar cut the communication channel and turned to his staff. Analysis of enemy forces, he commanded. Sir, his tactical officer reported. We confirm the presence of approximately 1,000 unknown structures throughout the system. However, we detect no conventional warships, no battle formations, no military installations as we understand them. Then what are we looking at? Unknown, sir. The structures do not match any ship design or defensive platform in our databases. Grand Admiral Thexvar studied the tactical display. He had faced desperate last stands before, but never an enemy that showed no visible means of defense. Perhaps, he said to his staff, these humans are even more foolish than we thought. All ships advance into the system. Prepare for full-scale assault. As the massive Imperial fleet moved deeper into human space, Admiral Crix watched from his position with the advance force. He had seen what human weapons could do to a single ship. Soon he would discover what they could do to an entire armada. The countdown to what might be the Empire's greatest victory or worst defeat had begun. Grand Admiral Thexvar stood on the bridge of the Worldbreaker, watching his armada advance through the human solar system. 2,000 Imperial warships moved in perfect formation, their weapons powered and ready. In 40 years of conquest, he had never seen a more beautiful sight. Sir, his tactical officer reported, We are approaching the inner system. The human structures are beginning to respond. Respond how? Energy levels are increasing throughout the system, sir. The unknown platforms appear to be powering up. Grand Admiral Thexvar smiled. Finally, some conventional behavior. All ships, battle formation. Prepare for engagement. The Imperial fleet spread into attack formation as it had done hundreds of times before. Dreadnoughts moved to the center. Battle cruisers formed the flanks. Destroyers took screening positions and carriers launched their fighter wings. Sir, the sensor officer called out, detecting massive energy buildups from multiple human installations. Finally ready to fight, are they? Grand Admiral Thexvar said. All ships target the nearest enemy platforms. We will show these humans what happens when they threaten the Empire. But before the Imperial fleet could open fire, something extraordinary began happening throughout the solar system. New ships appeared. Not the mysterious platforms that had been there all along, but actual vessels that materialized out of seemingly empty space. Ships that dwarfed even the massive Imperial dreadnoughts. Vessels that seemed to be built from materials that shifted and flowed like liquid metal, while maintaining perfect structural integrity. Sir, the tactical officer reported in a shaking voice, I count over 5,000 new contacts. All ships of unknown design. 5,000? Grand Admiral Thexvar stared at the display. Where do they come from? Unknown, sir. They appear to have been completely invisible to our sensors until this moment. The human fleet was unlike anything in Imperial experience. Their ships moved through space without visible propulsion, turned without inertia, and seemed to treat the laws of physics as mere suggestions rather than absolute rules. Analysis of enemy vessels, Grand Admiral Thexvar commanded. Sir, our computers cannot classify the human ships. They appear to be constructed using principles we do not understand. Energy readings suggest power sources far beyond our technology. Are they targeting us? Unknown, sir. We detect no conventional weapon signatures. But given what happened to the dawn of victory, Grand Admiral Thexvar had read the reports, but seeing Admiral Crix's fleet surrounded by the mysterious human structures was different from facing 5,000 ships that appeared to ignore the basic rules of engineering. Open a channel to all ships, he commanded. This is Grand Admiral Thexvar. We face an enemy of unknown capabilities, but we are the Third Imperial Armada. We have never been defeated. All ships engage at will. 2,000 Imperial warships opened fire simultaneously. Plasma cannons, particle beams, quantum torpedoes, and fusion missiles streaked across space toward the human fleet. It was the largest concentration of firepower ever assembled in galactic history. The human ships did not dodge. They did not raise shields. They did not return fire. They simply absorbed every shot as if the Imperial weapons were harmless light shows. Direct hits on multiple targets, the weapons officer reported. No damage detected to any enemy vessel. What do you mean, no damage? Sir, our weapons are striking their targets, but the human ships appear completely unaffected. Grand Admiral Thexvar watched in horror as the most powerful weapons in the galaxy had no effect whatsoever on the human fleet. Weapons that could destroy planets bounced harmlessly off ships that seemed to be made of living metal. All ships concentrate fire on a single target, he ordered. Maximum firepower. 500 Imperial warships focused their combined firepower on one human vessel. The space around the target erupted in a storm of energy, as every weapon in the Imperial arsenal struck the same point. When the energy dissipated, the human ship remained exactly where it had been, showing no damage at all. Impossible, Grand Admiral Thexvar whispered. Then the humans began their response. The human ships moved, not like conventional vessels using thrusters and reaction drives, but like creatures swimming through space itself. They flowed around the Imperial fleet with impossible grace, their movements defying every known principle of momentum and inertia. Sir, the tactical officer called out, human vessels are moving to surround the fleet. All ships evasive maneuvers. Do not let them box us in. But the Imperial fleet might as well have tried to outrun light itself. Human ships appeared wherever they wanted to be, moving through space by methods that Imperial science could not comprehend. Grand Admiral, came a transmission from Admiral Crix. The humans are demonstrating the same capabilities they showed us 6 days ago. Our weapons have no effect on them. Then we will ram them, Grand Admiral Thexvar declared. All ships collision course with the nearest enemy vessel. The dreadnought Bone Crusher moved to ram a human ship. At the moment of impact, Something impossible happened. The human vessel became translucent and the Imperial dreadnought passed straight through it as if it were made of light. "Sir," the helm officer reported, "the enemy ship became immaterial at the moment of contact." "They can control their physical state," the science officer added. "They exist in normal space when they choose to, but can become intangible at will." Grand Admiral Thexvar stared at the tactical display. His 2,000 ships were surrounded by an enemy that could not be damaged, could not be avoided, and could apparently exist in multiple states of matter simultaneously. "What do they want?" he asked aloud. The answer came from the human ships themselves. A calm voice, the same one they had heard throughout this confrontation, spoke to the entire Imperial fleet. "Grand Admiral Thexvar, you have demonstrated the military power of your empire. We acknowledge your strength and the skill of your forces. However, this conflict serves no purpose. What are you?" Grand Admiral Thexvar demanded. "We are human beings, Grand Admiral. We are also the species that will end the age of galactic empires. You cannot defeat 2,000 Imperial warships. Grand Admiral, we are not trying to defeat your ships. We are trying to educate your empire." As the human spoke, several Imperial destroyers simply vanished, just as the dawn of victory had vanished days earlier. Not destroyed, not damaged, just gone. "Your destroyers and their crews are safe," the voice continued. "They have been relocated to a place where they can do no harm. We can continue this process with your entire fleet if necessary." Grand Admiral Thexvar realized that he was not facing a military engagement. He was witnessing a demonstration of power so absolute that resistance was meaningless. "What do you want from the Empire?" he asked. "We want the Empire to end, Grand Admiral, not through conquest or destruction, but through evolution. Your species and all the others enslaved by Imperial law deserve freedom. The Empire has existed for 3,000 years. We bring order to the galaxy. You bring slavery, Grand Admiral. We have studied your history. The Empire conquers species that pose no threat, simply because they refuse to submit. This ends now. More Imperial ships vanished, not destroyed, but relocated to whatever place the humans used for their prisoners. You will send this message to Emperor Vakthul," the voice continued. "Humanity claims no territory beyond our solar system. We have no interest in ruling other species, but we will not allow galactic empires to continue enslaving civilizations. The Emperor has one standard year to begin dismantling the Empire and granting independence to all subject species. And if the Emperor refuses, then we will dismantle the Empire ourselves, Grand Admiral. We have the capability to remove every Imperial installation, every Imperial ship, every Imperial weapon from the galaxy. We prefer cooperation, but we will act alone if necessary." Grand Admiral Thexvar looked around his bridge. His officers stared at him with expressions of shock and fear. The most powerful military force in galactic history had been rendered completely helpless by a species that claimed to want nothing more than to be left alone. "How many ships will you allow us to keep?" he asked. "All of them, Grand Admiral. We are not destroying your fleet. We are offering your empire a choice between voluntary evolution and involuntary change. You would trust us to keep our weapons? Grand Admiral, your weapons cannot harm us. Your ships cannot escape us. Your technology cannot match ours. We do not fear the Imperial fleet because it poses no threat to us." The truth of that statement hung in the space between the two fleets. The humans had demonstrated absolute technological superiority without firing a single shot in anger. The relocated ships and crews will be returned to Imperial space. Once the Emperor begins the process of granting independence to subject worlds, the voice concluded. You have 1 year, Grand Admiral. We suggest you use it wisely. As Grand Admiral Thexvar prepared to retreat with the remnants of his fleet, he realized that the galaxy was about to change in ways that no one could predict. The Age of Empire was ending, and humanity had just announced itself as the force that would ensure that change happened. The question now was whether the Empire would evolve willingly or be forced to evolve by beings whose power made Imperial technology look like primitive tools.